All right, welcome everyone. Today, I have Leigh Jane with me today, and you will want to stick around for this interview. So, Leigh is the founder of Refine Her, a business and leadership advisory for female founders, CEOs, and visionaries and executives who want to enter the easy life era. She helps leaders make easy money doing what they're born and built for without the cost. Welcome, Leigh.
Hi, Lex. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit more about you. I just read your bio, and that's the official bio, and everybody knows you for your business. For those who don't know you, obviously they just heard. But tell me, what do people close to you know about you that most people don't?
I'm a pretty open book. So, what you see on the internet it's me, it's what you get. Yeah, I'm so transparent. I'm not a different person offline as I am online. The easy life era, I don't think is something that you want to hide, and it's also something that you can't put on. You're you're living it or you're not living it. It's
Yeah.
this that's more uncomfortable for me, coming on screen and interacting in this way. Whereas, yeah, being in person with people is so completely different. This is much harder than the in-person, the close
Yeah.
experience with people.
Yes, I agree with that. I completely agree with that. But I think you've done a great job on doing it online as well. Even though we'll talk later, you have some live events coming up as well. Now, when you say easy life, I always think, okay, well, success comes with some sacrifice, right? What would you say that you're unwilling to sacrifice no matter how life becomes?
Doing things on my terms and my timing. I don't run on a patriarchal clock. I don't run on my family's clock. I don't run on my client's clock. I don't run on social systems. I listen to my body. That's the only clock that I listen to. And I get very excited about life, and I get very excited about my work and meeting people. But my body tells me what I can do and what I can't do. And I knew that, I'm getting back into the groove of interviews, and I used to interview people live on my radio show, and I absolutely loved that. And every Friday on Bondi Radio, I had incredible guests. And, it was a whole ritual around it. The night before, I would get prepared and come into a very quiet zone. And this afternoon, just before I came on with you, it reminded me of that time. I hopped into the bath and I enjoyed just relaxing for a moment to come into the space. And this is something that I get to do because I'm not running on somebody else's clock. I get to have time to prepare myself for things. I get to, really listen to what my body needs. And even though I'm in 30-degree temperatures and, I'm in super minimal clothing, I needed a bath. I needed a hot bath this evening. And yeah, I'm just really grateful that I've created that for myself. So don't pressure me. If you want to end a relationship super fast with me, close to immediately, pressure, force, don't read the room, miss the signals, our relationship will come to an end pretty fast.
I love what you just said because that's how I live too. And I actually think of that every single morning because I wake up without the alarm clock. Me and my son wake up together. My husband is like an early bird, and we're on the same clock, and we wake up slowly, and like it takes me time to like get up, and we cuddle. And I think of it, I kid you not, every single morning I'm like, there's still that feeling in me of like, oh, like I didn't have this always. And I'm so grateful to have set it up. And like I can't even think of how it was, like waking up and having to go places. I'm like, no. And I'm just like you, like I love putting pressure on me, But if we're going somewhere and my husband's like, let's go, let's get ready, I'm like, you better shut up right now. Like, I'm not doing things on your timeline. I love how you said it, because it's like, yes, there's my body, this is my temple, and this is what I have to listen, because my body has taught me that you can ignore for a while, but we're going to have the last say. And so you can't ignore your body. The body is so important. So I
Before
know, I
you
mean,
go, before you
yes,
continue, Lex, just to be with that for a moment, because it's actually making me quite tearful. I had goosebumps all through my body as you were saying that. And tell me first how old your son is.
7.
He's 7. So when I started my business, my son was 9 years old, and I don't know why this is making me so tearful in this moment, but it's really feeling your joy and your appreciation. A 7-year-old, it's such a special time. And I remember getting up, doing my face, my hair, my makeup, getting my heels on, and rushing him to school and having him be the last kid that was picked up. And to hear that you have the time with your son, to have the cuddles and do this, it is the most important work that any woman can do. Yes, we kick ass in corporate and we manage huge projects, but a woman who is taking care of her son and giving him the cuddles and the love and the attention that he needs, this is everything. And so when I stopped in corporate when he was 9 years old, that was the happiest, most scary moment of my life. He's now almost
Yeah.
18. In less than 3 weeks, he turns 18 years old, and this is everything. This is everything.
Yes. I saw recently the photo you posted. You didn't post a photo of him, but you hugging him, and it was your face. And I was like, you don't get to see this Leigh Jane. Like, it's that raw, honest, like the smile that you have right now talking about him. Because truly, like, when I had a talk with Monique a few weeks ago, we talked about health, right? And he was like, well, what is it all for? Like, what am I doing all this for? And to me, legacy is him. To me, like, I want to leave this world. I know that I helped a few people have better lives, hopefully more than just a few. But it's also him. How have I left him? And he is a mini me. I know how much I craved that when I was little, and I swore that I will not put him in school. That's why we went through hoops and loops to world school, to homeschool, because that's why, and I think that's why I think of it every morning, because I know what it's like not to have that. And you even had the moment of having to rush him to school, and I'm like, I will do anything not to have to put him in school. Like, there's no way, because I understand the depth of that. And just like you said, at the end of the day, that is what drives us. That is the most important thing for us. So
Yeah,
thank you
and
for that. That was
they need
beautiful.
it, they need to have the interaction with other kids, but they need us. They need us really close. And it was my son's decision. The starting of my business was my son's decision. Him coming
Wow.
home and saying, I don't want to go to aftercare anymore. And it hit me really hard because I used to go to aftercare like him. I was a single mom. My dad was a single father, and I was the last person often to get picked up from aftercare. And when Noah came home and he said this, I was transported all the way back to when I was 10 years old. And I remember there's a very specific moment of me wondering whether my father was actually going to be there, because on many occasions he was late from work. On many occasions I had to figure out how to get home from school. And when Noah came home and said that, I went, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do and how I'm going to figure that out. But it was that, and being present for him. And he'll say, oh, you weren't present for me. And, in comparison to what I've come from, I'm like, mate, you have got no idea. Like, I've been there for you every single second. And yeah, it's him that got me off the alcohol. It's him that got me into my sleep routine. It's him that has me, building $1 million businesses every single day. It's him that has got me into the easy life. It's our boys that drive us. And also because my work is about bridging the gap between power and leadership, I've supported male CEOs since I was 18 years old. And if my son had to grow into any one of these male CEOs that I've supported that clearly were not mothered properly by their own mothers, we would continue to have a world of men who run the show and don't do a very good job of it. And so my commitment is making sure that my son is a man of dignity and of honor. And he absolutely is. The way that he is moving around in the world, he's actually overseas with his dad. He's a young man that I'm very, very proud of. And I want to make sure that when I'm no longer here, he's going, my mother, yeah, I thought she was insane for most of my life, but she kicked ass. That woman kicked ass and she had great influence in the world and she made a difference. And yeah, that's the legacy to others, but to our children and showing our kids what is possible. And, every day I make sure that I look better, feel better, serve better, because he's the only person that I care. I don't care about anybody's opinion, but his opinion matters.
Yes.
And so I make
Yes. And
sure that I show that.
I'm glad we're digging deeper into this because obviously I talk about high performance all the time. And oftentimes people mistake it to think like, oh, high performance is, optimizing your sleep and optimizing food. And yes, it is all those things, but we have to take into consideration mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual and financial well-being of a person. And what you and I are talking about here is very much under the, physical too, like you said, he's your driver, but mental and emotional as well. Because that to me is optimal performance. That to me is high performance. When you are looking into all these different areas of your life, you're knowing your why. This is my driving force, and I'm not going to ignore it. It doesn't matter what fears I have. It doesn't matter that I don't know what's coming up. Like you said, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but like we're doing this. That conviction, like it moves mountains. I have seen conviction in my life, like quite literally almost move mountains, because it's when you make that decision, the air changes, not just the vibration, like everything changes on a cellular level, on an atomic level, everything changes when you make that decision. And that's why I think it's so important for women to hear this conversation, because it's not just about, I'm going to perform, how I'm going to earn all this money. What is it all for? And so with that said, obviously, I know you as someone who does put a lot of importance, I was going to say information, importance on your health. So why has taking care of yourself become important to you?
What was most important to me before was freedom. That's been right at the top of my list since I was young. Don't put pressure or force on me wasn't something that developed now in my 40s. It's been something since I was little. And then freedom enabled so much, too much, in directions that didn't serve me. So I love a party. I love to be social. I love to stay up through the night and all the way into the morning and watch the sunrise. This is not something that I can do anymore. I am not someone who can be with a lot of chaos. I can deal with it, but it doesn't make me feel good. I can be in the midst of it, but my nervous system gets layered and layered and layered with chaos until it gets to a point where it's not happy and it starts to scream. I don't let my body scream anymore. I started preparing for perimenopause, 10 years ago. So I was 34 years old. And when I had all of the freedom to do all of the things, and I didn't listen to my body as much as I needed to do because I placed people as more important, because connection is really important to me. I then realized that I needed to reprioritize things, and that freedom could only be something that continued to be fed if my health was prioritized. So when I started getting migraines, I had a front tooth removed at the end of 2019, and it had a knock-on effect on my pineal gland. It then ran all the way through the right side of my body. It hit my knee all the way down to my ankles, and it had this really huge knock-on effect over the next 5 years. And I started developing migraines that were incredibly intense, like pneumatic drills coming through my head, and I would be knocked out for about 72 hours. I had never, ever had any issues around my bleed. I'd never had any issues around my cycle. My cycle was clockwork. Everything was super healthy. And the moment that this happened, everything shifted. And so although I had the freedom, I didn't have the health. And because I didn't have the health, the freedom started to diminish. And I had no other choice, because I'm so excited about life, and because I love to do a lot, and I love to be highly productive, and I love to perform at a high level, because I love competing with myself. I don't compete with anybody else, but if I'm, put in a sports field, then I go pretty hardcore. But yeah, health became the highest priority when I was being taken out. I was being forced to lie in bed and be still in the darkness that wasn't dark enough. And this, after forcing me and after pressuring me, this is the next worst thing that you can do. Get in my way. Stop me from moving. And so I was in my own way. I didn't like to be still because I was in pain. I didn't like to be still because the body was tired of processing everything that it was processing. I like to be still because it's time to rest. And I get to choose to rest, not because I'm hurting, not because I'm suffering, just because it's a moment where the system is beginning to slow down just before my bleed, and I get to relax and go, oh, I'm a little bit slower right now. Not because I'm in deep pain that is causing me so much sadness, the amount of tears I cried in those moments, because I was in such pain and I couldn't find comfortable positions. I couldn't lift up my phone to call for help. It was not a good time. And it was 5 years of this every single month. And so my new drug dealer became my naturopath. And yeah, she was by my side all through it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's so important to notice because, obviously we all love freedom, but if we don't even understand that, just like you said, health even comes before freedom, because freedom can be taken away through that. And it's so interesting because, again, like when we think of, a few months ago, I asked on Facebook, I said, what does the word health mean to you? Like, what does healthy mean to you? And every answer was physical. Oh, I want to be able to go a flight of stairs without getting out of breath. I want to be able to run. I want to be able to do. And I was like, health is so much more than that, because it doesn't matter how positive you are, how ambitious you are, how driven you are, how much willpower you have, how much discipline you have. When you're in pain and when you're tired, your thoughts, your emotions will change to adapt, and you have that choice. You're like, I either have to find the answer to this, or I'm going to be stuck in this. And I didn't have the same, obviously, situation, but I had back pain for years. And I think we sometimes do need to hit the rock bottom, because I did come to a rock bottom when it was hurting so bad, and I said, conviction. I am done. I said, I am done living with this pain. And I went into meditation, and I actually healed through meditation. And one, that showed me how powerful our bodies are. And two, showed me the power of conviction. Now, we can't always create conviction, but I think that's why it's important, even in the beginning of this conversation, to say, what's my why? right? Because I was like, I'm not going to suffer back pain here and being unable to play with my kid. It was like when I was in meditation, I was visualizing myself playing with him. So the same for you. I'm sure you did a lot of inner work during that time, because it was like, I got to do something. So if I'm here laying in this dark, laying in this pain, I got to do what I got to do to move on, because this cannot be my life forever. And again, to me, it's that how that conviction gets born to say, no, I refuse to stay here, and I want my choices back, right? Like that's true freedom, the choice. Like, do I want to work? I'm going to work. Do I not want to work? I'm not going to work. It's a choice. And like you said, not because of a pain, not because of any other reason, but because I chose to do one thing or another. And that's so powerful. Not on anyone's timeline, not on anyone's pain, nothing, just purely your decision. I love that.
Yeah. And this is it, this is back to the easy life. And so I'll back this up. I'm focused on systemic change. I'm focused on leadership from that perspective. And systemic change runs on 6 different levels. And at the 5th level, we're at the place of war. At the 6th level, we get to the point of indifference. And this is the point where people just don't give a fuck. And we're getting closer and closer to that point where people are so indifferent, they're neither here nor there. They don't have strong opinions about anything. They just sort of float in the middle, and nobody cares about anyone anymore. And so, because this matters so much to me, I had to go inward, and I had to be really quiet with myself and stay there for as long as I needed to stay there for the pain to move through my system. And when women decide that they're taking on the role of systemic change leadership, their bodies begin to clear out the deepest trauma that is stored on a cellular level. I started doing work on myself very deeply when I was 18 years old, when I started yoga. And then previous to that, I'd started Kung Fu when I was 14 years old, and I was a dancer. I began to do modern and contemporary dance when I was 8 years old. I've very much been in my body all through my life. And the deeper and deeper the work became over the years, the more and more my body threw up what needed to be thrown up. And that came in the form of pain. And it came in the form of having no other choice other than to listen and pay attention, because I enjoy the easy life. I left South Africa when I was 21 years old. I started working on private yachts. And I loved being paid a lot of money to live in beautiful places and to be beautifully presented every single day, and to serve billionaires, and to have a chef cook for me every single meal, and to have my clothes washed for me, and to wake up to incredible sunrises and to go to sleep at sunsets because we were on call for many hours a day, and to be tipped 100 euros just to carry a shirt that I didn't iron to a person who liked me and was so grateful that they could tip just 100 euros for a smile. And so the easy life is something that I attuned myself to from a very, very young age. And then I got to a point where I no longer wanted to do it on somebody else's terms. I didn't want to serve people that maybe I didn't want to serve, or be on a yacht that I didn't want to be on. And so, when we come into this place of I'm choosing systemic change leadership, the body goes, oh, fuck. We're in for something really serious here. And there is no way that we can operate at the level that we're required to operate at in order to produce the results and the outcomes that we're focused on. I'm not here for work over the next 3 years. I'm here for the next 100 years. I'm focused on the actions that I take today that are going to have an impact in the next 100 years. Not a lot of people
Yes.
think like that.
Yes, that is so important. Oh my gosh, you're like so in sync. Last, like people who are like so aware of our bodies, right? I was standing in front of the window and I saw the reflection. I was like, what is up with this pooch? And so it's not body fat, but I was like, okay, there's something to do with my posture. So of course, I started blocking on my abs and stuff like that. But my train of thought was, I need to fix this now because I'm not living with this when I'm 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. Like, that's exactly how I think. I'm like, everything I do today is going to train me to live longer. Because again, my son, I literally calculated when I'm going to allow myself to go forward out of this world. And my age is 107 or more. And so I literally plan things out, just like you said. I'm like, is this an action that is going to keep me here for another bunch of years? Because I think that if we were trained like that, to think like that, it's so easy to be in the moment, right? It's so easy to be like, oh, brings me pleasure now. And it's that cheap dopamine that we fall onto. But I'm teaching my son, I'm going to be
So cheap and
oh my
dirty,
God,
like
it's
so
so
cheap
cheap.
and dirty.
Oh, it's awful. It's terrible. It's such a cheap dopamine, like, ugh. And so I'm training my kid now. He found this little video on kind of motivation and discipline, and it says, easy now, hard later, or hard now, easy later. And I asked him, which one would you rather do? And he said, well, hard now, easy later. I'm like, oh my God, you at 7 know this. We're on the right path. So everything he does now, because obviously he's a kid, he's like, Mom, can we go on TikTok? I'm like, hard now, easy later. He's like, yes. And then we go into something else. And I really want to train that in him because I never had that training, right? And it sounds like you did the same thing. You had to do a lot of inner work to train yourself to become this version of you, to think in terms of longevity, to think deeply into everything that you do. You already mentioned connections are important for you. So everything you do goes deep and also long, like we're looking for the longevity. And that's why I think it shows up, you're shining at your age, because it's like, what do you mean 40s are to slow down? I'm hardly even getting started.
I just got started.
I
I've
just
just
got started.
turn
Yes,
the fan
exactly.
off. One sec. Hitting the back of my shoulders. It's so funny you say that because as I was lying in the bath just before we got on with one another, I had my legs lying up at the top, and I was like, not all baths are made equal. Now, what's happening with the screen? Is the screen
Oh,
still going?
it should zoom you back in a second. It does that. There we go.
So I was lying in the bath and I'm like, not all baths are made equal. I like them long and wide and deep. And I was like, that's exactly my entire ethos, about life. Like, give it to me long, give it to me wide, give it to me deep. Like, I want all of life, and we can only have all of life when we're thinking with a long-term perspective, but living in the moment. I love the cheap dopamine. I love the cheap dopamine. It was
Great.
so much fun, so much fun, until it wasn't anymore because it would ruin my day the next day. And I'm not interested in it.
That's the thing. And that's when I talk to people about sugar, because like my approach to nutrition is completely different than any information out there, because it goes from the leadership, self-leadership. And you don't ask yourself like, oh, is this healthy? Is this not healthy? Should I do this now? How many calories? No, you go, is this fueling my body? Because it's either going to give me that cheap ass dopamine right now for like 2 seconds, but then it's going to make me feel like shit for 2 days. And it's never worth it. I don't know one example where you're like, oh, it was totally worth it. It is never worth it. And I think that what I love about 40s is, I had a post about this. Women say, oh, I can't get away with things anymore. I'm like, why are you getting away with? We're not getting away with
what?
things. We're not getting away with things here. Yeah, this is why the approach to sugar is, this is cheap dopamine. And yes, it's going to feel good in the moment. I'm going to get the sugar high, but it takes me 2 days to recover from it, or
But
even
does
an
it feel
afternoon.
good?
I'm not willing to sacrifice even my afternoon, like the focus. And you know this, you're a high performer. Like if you sit down to work, it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna stay busy and pretend that I'm doing stuff. It's sitting down to work, then I can go and do whatever I wanted, whatever I choose to do, right? Yes, it's the depth. And what you just said is that depth, that thinking about the future but being present. To me, that's why people like us don't like shallow conversations. If we're having a conversation, I want it to be deep, I want it to be meaningful. I understand that to get there, sometimes we gotta lead into a conversation, but I am interested in depth. I'm interested in having that one person that I can talk with on a deep level, rather than having like 50 acquaintances that I don't even have time to connect with or energy to connect with. So I
I
love that
will
conversation.
I will say though that I'm all about the depth, and yes to the conversations, and yes to being able to go there. But if somebody doesn't make me laugh, if we can't laugh in between the seriousness, I'm not interested. Like if it's heavy all the time, if it's deep all the time, if people don't have a sense of humor, it's not about being superficial, but it's about having a sense of humor, And there are some people that are so deep, but they're so fucking heavy. I'm like, bring your lightness, yo. Like, where is your lightness in the depth? Like, this is life. We're living life. Like, let's play. Yes, let's go deep, but in the heavy shit, let's get light with it?
See, I'm all serious. Like literally, Monique, my coach, is teaching me. She's like, you gotta put some humor in there. You gotta put some fun stuff out there. I'm like, I feel so awkward doing that, and I have to like train myself to do, because I'm kidding you not. I literally had to like do the deep work with myself, and I'm like, I feel okay about this, but like, is this okay that I'm this serious? Because I'll tell you what the difference, how I knew that I'm okay. I have the fulfillment. I have the satisfaction. But yes, don't come to me for laughs, because my son does that. I'll
Good
occasionally
to
make him laugh.
know.
He
Good to
said,
know.
be funny, mom. And I'm like, shit, I can't be
Yeah,
funny.
there is no way. And I think you and I should meet in Belgrade. We should meet at my favorite hotel in Belgrade. I'm sure you know exactly which one it is, right? In the center of town.
Downtown. Yeah.
It's one of the most beautiful buildings, and it's just so romantic. There is no fucking way you and I would meet there and not be laughing out loud. Like it is impossible to not be laughing with me. So
Right.
I might not come to you for
Well,
the laughs, but for sure you'll be laughing out loud in my company.
all
Like
right.
nobody,
Well,
I'm deep, but nobody doesn't laugh when they're with me. And this is what
all right.
keeps us alive. Like really
Yeah,
alive.
well, let's experiment. I'm always open to things. I'm not like, no, I'm saying no to laughter. Of course, I'm open to it, but it would be interesting to see you bringing that out for me. Okay, so back to health and overall health. I'm going to ask you, what are some things that you would say you do consistently that you think that most women overlook?
Make my bed every single morning.
Why do you find that important?
It, I love organization. I don't want to get into a disorganized bed. At
Yes.
night, I want to get into a bed that is ready to hold me. It is the most important thing to me is sleep. You know, sex used to be right at the top of my list. Like it was one of the things that I would move mountains for, I would get on airplanes for and fly to the other side of the world. And I mean, I still do that because, adventure and all. But the highest priority is now sleep. And so when I get out of my bed in the morning, and it's a beautiful bed, it's a good mattress, it's extraordinary linen, it's a good pillow, and I make it. I take care of the thing that is taking care of me for my most important thing every single day. Sleep is the thing that I cannot muck with. And the moment that I do, it knocks me for six. I don't know how I used to run on empty and be so high functioning, drink the alcohol, have the sex all night, take the drugs, not have any sleep, come back, run teams, run events, look good, and love it. Not possible now. Now, do not muck with my sleep. And so when I get up in the morning and I make my bed and I turn everything back, I'm reminded of what is my most important thing. If I just leave the bed undone, even if I have an afternoon nap, I usually don't get into my bed. I sleep in a different direction. Otherwise, I'm like, it's not bedtime yet. So I do something different. But even then, I will still organize it, because taking care is something really important to me. And so when things are lying all over the place and disorganized and they don't have a place, I'm not taking care. And if I'm not taking care of my space, I get the message. And universe is like, you want to be taken care of, but you can't even take care of your own space. If you can't take care of your space, you can't even take care of yourself,
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so important to understand the importance of details. Because again, I'm going to really relate it to high performance and like nutrition, right? Oh, it's just one drink. Oh, it's just one cheesecake. It is never. The cost is much greater than that. And this is just like that. It is just one time I'm not going to make the bed. You're starting a day messy, and then you're going to let the mess come here, and you come here. And I tell my husband this all the time. I'm like, I have never met a successful person who lives in a mess. They take such care of every single detail. And so therefore I have to do the same thing, because it's setting up a bar for myself, what I'm willing to tolerate, what I'm not willing to tolerate. It's kind of like I'm setting up the bar high for myself. And I love that that's like the first thing of your day. I'm so bad about it. I will start making bed while we're still in it. And I'm like, my kid and I are getting up, and I was like, let me just tuck this in a little bit, just a little bit. But it's so important to start the day, whether it's, whether it's the bed, but the bed is like the most basic thing, because yes, you will turn around and see it. And subconsciously people don't understand how much it matters, because if I allow myself to be sloppy with a bed, then I will allow myself to be sloppy with a breakfast, and then I'll allow myself to be sloppy with my work. And that's a whole new standard. That's a whole new standard we're setting up for ourselves. So I love that you shared that thing that seems so insignificant, but it is so significant. So you mentioned how there are things that you used to do. Obviously 20s were everybody's crazy age, but you don't do that. You said you can't do these things anymore. What have you learned about your body in this season that you wish you knew at 30 or 35?
This is a good question. In one word,
Well,
sardines.
however you want to. What is it?
One word, sardines. The
These are
power
really,
of a can of sardines every single day. This is the greatest life hack, travel hack, and health hack that exists, that was given to me by my Lebanese girlfriend. I have found it really challenging over the years to get enough protein in me. And, for years I ate healthily, but healthily didn't mean fuel for Leigh. Healthily meant this is good, healthy food, but that good, healthy food didn't match my system. And so when these migraines hit and I moved through all of the different layers, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, energetically, then I got to the cellular level. I worked on every single level to clear this out of my system. By the time I was at a point where I was ready to lose it, my naturopath had said to me that you've really got to increase the proteins. And when I discovered sardines, my life changed. I wasn't so much into them, but exactly as you say, the way that you teach health is about, does this fuel me or does this fuck me over? And my Lebanese girlfriend is all about vitality as well. And so I really learned from her, does this fuel me or does this fuck me over? And my father is a chef, so I am the daughter of a man who is all about the food. But he is someone who's about the three food groups, and he's like, three food groups and you're fine. Dad's a 1940s kid, you know, he was born in 1940 and he's 86 years old. And so he's old school. I'm like, Dad, I love you and I appreciate you. And I'm 44 years old and I'm in a stage of womanhood that has a different requirement to the three food groups that I need in order to be well. I work at a high level, my metabolism is super high, and I need to fuel my system in a different way than just the three food groups. And he's like, Leigh, don't get too obsessive with things. I'm like, Dad, I'm not obsessive with things. I am obsessed with not having migraines and waking up fresh every single day. And when I discovered the things that were not working for me, when I stopped eating tomatoes, when I stopped eating avocados, these two things were so important to me. I loved feta cheese. These are all healthy foods. They weren't good for me because they were all histamine activators.
Histamine, baby. I was about to say it's all histamine.
Histamine, baby. That, excuse my French, but there is no other way to say that. Shit fucked my life.
Yeah.
And so when I started eliminating all of the histamine, I called my mate and I was like, Dave, I need your help. I'm not in a good place. Head is sore. Just found out that my histamine is off the roof. And basically every single thing in my fridge and in my pantry needs to go. And he was like, I'll take all of your goods. Give me a list of things that are non-histamine. I will go to the grocery store for you and I will pick up everything that you need and we can do a swap. And so he went to the grocery store with the list, picked up a whole bunch of stuff, brought it to my place, and I had literally to clear everything out of my fridge because I thought that it was healthy. It wasn't healthy. It was giving me
For your
migraine.
body for this season. Yeah, absolutely. So for those listening, sardines are amazing because they're full of omega-3s. They're not high in mercury because they're small. You just want to make sure they're not in seed oils when you buy them. That's one note. A second note, don't run and throw away your avocados and tomatoes just yet. This is why we have to learn to listen to our body. I tell this to my clients. They're always like, well, just tell me what to eat. I'm like, I can't do that. I mean, I could, but it doesn't do you good. You have to listen to how you feel. You have to notice how you feel when you're eating certain foods. Histamine, by the way, is not just in foods. Histamine gets built up on foods that are you cooked 3 hours ago and 5 hours ago, and now you're eating leftovers. They're full of histamine. So there is a little bit of a learning curve, but connecting to your body and knowing, oh, this is not feeling good for me anymore. Oh, I notice when I eat this, there are patterns. And while it's, again, hard now, easy later, while it's a little challenging to learn at first, we get to learn about our body so much. Like, I know my body so well. I know exactly what to eat during the week and what not to mess with. I know exactly what, like the protein stuff, like that's obviously that I've been doing that for years. That's easy, but there is the right amount of food. There is the right amount of protein. There's the different kind of protein. Like, everything needs to be tailored to each person because that is what it's about. Because, yeah, avocado and tomato may sound amazing to someone else, they're not. And it can create more inflammation in the body and issues like that. And I love that you went so granular into learning these little things about your body. So what is something that you do now, I guess it could be, if it could be put in a sentence or two, that allows you to continue performing at a high level? You mentioned sleep, obviously you mentioned a few things about nutrition. Is there anything else?
Water, Lex. I'm a bit of a water Nazi, and when I was living in Sydney up until 14 months ago, well, when I was living in Australia, I was on the Central Coast for 3 years. Prior to that, I was in Sydney, and in Sydney, I was ordering awake water, and these people are so obsessed about the water. It comes directly from the spring, and then it comes into their zone. bowls for this water, for the frequency. And I shit you not, you start to drink this water, your personality changes in the sense of you just become lighter. You can feel your whole entire body being flushed out. Not all water is made equal. And I can feel the difference of water on my skin, on my scalp. You know, health, you talk about mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. What was the other one? Financial.
Financial.
Energetic, we cannot ignore. I am so sensitive to everything around me. It's one of my greatest gifts. I'm sensitive to water. I'm sensitive to land. Malta, where my parents live, I can't spend long periods of time there because the water is so filled with salt. It turns my skin dry. It makes my scalp peel. My energy really drops. I don't feel good there at all. And so water is something that I pay a lot of attention to. I mean, the simplicity of being taught to put a little bit of salt just on the tip of my tongue in the morning and move the water through my system, not drinking coffee first thing in the morning, which I can get away with, to the words that the women use. I can now get away with things where I'm like, you know what? I really feel like a cup of coffee this morning on an empty belly. I'm good for it. It doesn't stuff me up. It doesn't make me over. Now, I can't do that every day. That's not going to work for me. I like to have a glass of red wine about every 3 weeks. I like to have it with my pasta. I have a beautiful ragu that is made for me in a nice Italian restaurant. I don't do that every week. I don't do that every day. I used to eat pasta every day. Every day eating pasta when I was working on private yachts, I still lost 5 kilograms in 1 week with clients that came on board with the amount that I was running. And so water is the most important thing, but that one sentence of what did I wish I knew before was that food is for fueling.
Yes.
It is not for fun. Food is not for pleasure. Fuel first. And if it comes with pleasure as well, great. But the thing that touches my lips and my tongue for a moment that tastes good, I'm like, nah, does it fuel me and does it taste good? If it only tastes good and it gives me no fuel, that I'm going to be doing very rarely. I'll have an ice cream every 2 months, you know? And I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything because I feel so good.
Yeah. And taste buds change too, right? Like, this is why I tell people the same thing. Like, they're like, well, what do you eat for breakfast? I'm like, if I made you the same breakfast, you would probably gag. But to me, it tastes like heaven because I have adapted. Like, I've been eating like this for so long.
Tell me, what is it?
Oh my gosh. So I do eggs. But it's all the other stuff that I put in there. So I put eggs in there. Sometimes I add chicken in there, which is like the weirdest thing. Lion's mane mushrooms. There's another type of mushroom that goes in there. And then salt, pepper, turmeric. And then I put cayenne pepper in there. I put yeast, which is like full of B vitamins, B12 or all of the others. And then I put, what else I'm missing something here. Then I put mustard in there, sour cream in there. I'm missing something. But like my kid looks at that and he's like, oh gosh. But he does it with just the not peppers, the mushrooms and eggs, where I add all of this other stuff to me. And he gets like yes, cooked, yes, like the omelet, kind of like an omelet. Yeah.
Yum.
Now I love the dry yeast because I love the taste of it. It's kind of cheesy, but it gets all the B vitamins in there, which are great for energy and nervous system. And but like he can't stand that taste. But people who are not used to it, for example, would try that and be like, first of all, cayenne pepper and then dry yeast. It's like disgusting. To me, it tastes great because I've eaten that for so long, and I make it exactly how I love it, right? And this is also why when we start eating clean, I generally don't like to put people through like okay, hardcore, like breaking up with sugar today, because I know the effects of sugar. So what we generally do, depends on the person. There are people who are like, you just tell me what to do, I'm going to do it. Like, all right, cool, we can do that. But generally, we got to weed off of it while substituting for something else, because we never want to feel deprived. And what you were talking about is when I feel like I'm fueling my body, like that gives me so much, like a certain kind of feeling, like I'm doing so good for my body, that obviously the taste comes later. But the taste, I love that you just mentioned that, because the taste is so tricky. And if people just switch too much, that's why when people look at healthy food who don't eat healthy food, they're like, oh, that tastes like cardboard. To you right now, it does. We have to make switches over time so that your taste buds adjust. When I interviewed Monique, she was talking about having arugula salad for breakfast, and I had to make that, and I was like, listeners, that doesn't mean you need to have arugula if you're like right now thinking that sounds terrible. Because we have to learn about our body. We have to learn what fuels our body. And then we have to do it in such a way. And like, I actually talk about different seasons. I was all about fasting. And then I found women in 40s, we don't need to be doing long-term fasting unless specifically done in a particular way and on certain days around the month. It can be done anytime, anywhere. But for example, for me, a big breakfast energizes me, but I don't have pretty much any carbs. I mean, hardly any carbs with that breakfast, right? So again, we have to tune to learn our body, because I know people are listening to that and they're like, oh my God, that just sounds so complex. It's actually really not. There's a simple formula to it. We have to look into basics, and it's always back to basics. What you just mentioned, you mentioned sardines and protein, you mentioned water, and you mentioned listening to the body when it comes to taking certain foods out that are healthy or unhealthy. This is why we don't judge things as, is this healthy, is it not, is it good, is it bad? No. Is this fueling my body? And I have to take a note on how it's making me feel throughout the day. And another quick note on water, you are so right. Every time we move, I'm like, all right, let me test the water here. And I'm like, nope. It's not hydrating me. It's going right through me. I can tell. I can literally tell. So we go and we buy mineral water that's from a spring. And I'm like, that's the closest that I can get to it. And we're actually looking to buy our own land in about the next year or so. And we're always looking for at least one well, if not a few wells, and a spring, because there is a huge difference in water. There's absolutely a huge difference in water. And not to overwhelm people, but when we start connecting to ourselves and starting to go within, we notice these things so quickly that it just becomes this quick shift. You're probably like, oh, try that water. That's not going to do it. You already know how to move quickly with that without overthinking the water. But
Yeah.
tap water is generally like mineral free, not good, general. It depends on where we live. But we have to learn what fuels our body, because the result will be having energy or not having energy, having focus,
Simple.
not having focus, having a migraine or not having a migraine. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. You know, some people really hurt themselves with food. Why?
Yeah.
I don't, excuse me, but I don't understand fat people. Like, but I'm talking about super, super, super large people. I go, how did you even get to that point? Like, how much
Yeah,
did you have to hurt yourself?
it gets deep into psychology with people, and
So deep.
it's so deep into psychology and previous trauma. I say, like, people who are really overweight, like, it's never about the weight. Now, it has to do with standards, because just like, like, I can get to a point where I'm like, oh, what am I doing here? I need to correct my course. I've been like that for a really long time, right? I started as a trainer 20 years ago, and it was like watching the body change depending on what I eat and, how I sleep and all of that. But it has to do with standards, but it goes so deep into psychology. And to me, it's like, there's a saying they used to say at the gym where I used to work, and I think it became like one of those sayings everywhere. Nothing tastes as good as fit feels. Now, someone who was fit gets that, because to us, nothing tastes as good as fit feels. People who were never fit don't understand that yet.
Never had it. Yeah.
They can't understand that yet. And it's so true. we're used to not going for that cheap dopamine in food. And on occasion, you may allow yourself, like you said, you may go for pasta. Like I'm at a point where I don't even enjoy that anymore, but it's probably like the way I brainwashed myself on fueling. But it's so deep into it. And this is why, to me, it's always worth doing the inner work. For people, it shows up as health or weight. It shows up in relationships. It can show up in finances. There will be a way to show us we need to do the inner work. And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of patience to do the inner work. Like, for example, in your case, you had the migraine. Well, you started doing the work at 18, but when you had the migraine, it was like, this is the time to narrow it even more, to go even more into it, to listen to my body more. Like, it probably sends you to a whole nother level of awareness with your body and yourself.
Yeah, I mean, people are willing to buy another size of clothing up and invest, spend more money instead of going inward. They're like, oh, I got fat. Well, let's just buy a bigger pair of jeans. If I ever needed to buy something bigger or smaller, I'm like, this is a waste of cash. I want to buy something because I finished using the thing, because its time has come to an end, not because my body has got skinnier or it's got larger. That happened to me once in my life, and that was at 21 years old. And that was just because I was on private yachts smoking 6 joints a day, getting the munchies and having 3 breakfasts, 3 mid-morning snacks, 3 times lunches. And within 1 month, I had put on 10 kilograms. Fine, I was 48 kilograms at the time. Another thing that I wanted to say, Lex, was what I've learned now is that I don't wait until I'm hungry. I make sure that I'm topping myself up. So when you say I have a really big breakfast, I wake up in the morning, I'm not hungry. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't need a big breakfast. Now I wake up in the morning, whether I'm hungry or not, I'm like, let's keep the fuel up. Let's not get to a point where, oh, now I'm hungry. Because if I've arrived at the point of hunger, I'm too late. I'm already coming into the red. Me, I'm not interested in being in any shape or form of my life, not financially, not sleep deprivation, not enough friends, not enough lovers, not enough clients. I'm not interested in any of that. Me, I like to be 3/4 of the tank full. And so by the time I get to 75%, I'm like, oh, we're starting to dip into a place that I don't like so much. Not, oh shit, I'm on the edge of things really not working out in my life because now I'm in the red. And that's what hunger is to me. I only realized much later in my life that for most of my life, I've been undernourished.
Yeah. And what you touched on is very important, again, for women over 40s, is because skipping breakfast and waiting too long is really messing up the blood sugar, it's messing up the cortisol, is messing up hormones. So for those who are fasting is great, not in 40s, and it has to be done a certain way, where we're starting a day, like you said, if we're starting a day right, chances are the rest of the day is pretty much taken care of. But if we start skipping that, and then again, talk about deep psychology, when we get hungry, we all know the hangry feeling. It's there for a reason. The body has designed it to be so, to make us like lose our mind and just go to food, because food is so primal to us humans. It's so primal that we can't play with it too much. Biology is always going to win. So yes, thank you for sharing that, because it is important to keep the fuel up. Absolutely. Yeah, we're not going in the red anywhere. So how would you say taking care of your health has affected your business success?
I mean, it's everything, Lex. It's not the non-negotiable, because I'm well, I make money fall from the sky. Because I'm well, every time I talk, I make cash. Every time I post, I make cash. Every time I show up, I make cash. I'm attractive and I'm magnetic because I'm well, because I'm mentally well, because I'm emotionally well, because I'm physically well, because I'm energetically well, because I'm spiritually well, because I'm financially well. And this is a time of my life where I'm bringing everything up, and up to the point of sustainable overflow. There was a lot of underflow for a lot of time, and a lot of depletedness, and a lot of or deprived, in certain areas. And now health equals money. Yes, health equals wealth of all the things, but health equals cash. And cash is important to me because I like doing whatever I like, whenever I feel like it, with whomever I please, whenever I want to. And I'm also not interested in working hard. I like to do as little as possible for the greatest return. I'm Taurian. I enjoy pleasure. I enjoy lying next to the pool. I also enjoy serving at the highest level. I also enjoy being silent for days and days and on end, not speaking to anybody. If I am not healthy, I'm not making cash. If I'm not making cash, I'm not able to be silent for days. I'm not able to lie next to the pool, go to the beach, climb the mountain, be on the back of motorbikes, hang out with lovers for days. I'm not able to do any of that. So without it, there literally is nothing else. People are like, oh, money doesn't bring you happiness. Bullshit. It brings the greatest amount of happiness. You need cash to be healthy.
Yes.
And I mean
And
healthy
to
at the
me,
level that we're talking about, not just standard health.
right. To me, the word that comes up is abundance, right? Because if you are abundant in one area but not in the other, you're not truly abundant, right? Where if you have that health, you have the wealth, you have the connection with people, you have the relationships, like that's true abundance. It cannot be, oh, I'm abundant here, but not over here. That's not true abundance. And what you're sharing is that flow of abundance in every area of life, which is why, yeah, health and cash, health and wealth are connected. Now, I know you've built an incredible community. You attract a certain type of people around you, which speaks highly of who you are. What would you say that people in your community, maybe, or in the world, are craving right now? What have you noticed that people are needing, women?
The easy life, Lex. This is really what women are craving. They're craving space. They're craving time. They're craving to be able to just sit and have the conversations, take the long walk, have it be that they're not rushing to the next thing. They're craving being more present with their children and not having to rush them from the soccer match to the violin practice to the, oh, we've got to go and see Uncle Thomas and Auntie Sarah because she's preparing a meal to celebrate how well you did in the soccer match. All of these obligations and these commitments, they're craving to exhale, just to take a minute. The problem is with a lot of women who are successful, it comes at the cost of their freedom and the cost of their health. And I'm not interested in making the next million in any other way other than from the easy life. I made a commitment when I left corporate in 2018. By that stage, of course, I had attracted, millions. Up until that point, I started working when I was 14 years old. But I decided that the next million that I was going to make inside of my business doing my work that I'm born and built for, that it wasn't going to come at the cost of my health. It wasn't going to come at the cost of my presence with my son. It wasn't going to come I was happy for it to come at the cost of relationships, because relationships that were misaligned, that were creating more pressure and stress and irritation. I don't like to be irritated. Irritation in my life. I'm now at a point where the pond has got quite small, in the sense of, I mean, the pond is now at 83 million. These are the people that I'm willing to connect with. The 1% of the population. People who are not craving the easy life, I can't be friends with. People who want the hard life, who don't want to contribute to society, I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in a conversation. We're never going to be friends. We're never going to work together. If somebody wants to make the next million in the way that they're not born and built for, I'm not interested in stopping even for a second to chat for 5 minutes
Yeah.
because I'm so clear on my path, and either you want it or you don't. Every bleed, this is day one of my bleed. Every bleed, I have a very specific intention of what I'm releasing. And over this bleed, over the past month, I've had lots of beautiful men in my life in the form of friendships, business relationships, intimate relationships. And what I've got very present to is that they can bring a lot to the table, but if their focus is not systemic change, there's nothing for us. And so what I'm releasing in this bleed is misplaced leadership. When I
Mm.
place myself as a leader, which I always am in every single moment, and I can't surrender as a leader in that space because I've got to take care of the men, because I've got to direct the men, because I've got to say, come on, men, boys, man up, get with the program, stop hurting yourselves, get into better rhythm and flow. If I have to be a man in a space with men and I can't surrender into my womanhood, I'm like, my leadership is misplaced because the power of my presence in a space with someone without me even opening my mouth is huge. And if I place myself in a space where I'm not received because they're choosing the hard life, because they're choosing to make things difficult, we can play nicely with one another, we can have laughs, we can have great chats, but at some point I'm going to get frustrated because I'm going to see how hard they're making it for themselves, and then I must silence myself and not say anything, and I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to watch somebody create pain in their own life. So this is what everyone's craving, is the easy life. But if you crave it, make sure that you're lining up with it. Don't come into my world and
Yeah.
then decide that you're going to remain in the hard life space and expect me to be quiet and celebrate you for making your life hard. I'm not going to do that.
Meaning step into the identity of the new easy life person.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to learn from you, where would we send them first?
First spot is either you want to learn from me and do the work, or you want to learn about me and get to know me. So if people want to get to know me, I'm all over social media. If people want to do the work, then the first place to start is get paid. And this is where they understand why people pay them without any hesitation. It takes them 5 minutes. They get a response within 24 hours. They're shown exactly what they are born and built for, and exactly why people whip out their credit cards and go, you are the person that I am choosing to learn from.
And I'll have all those notes in the comments shortly. So what are you working on these days?
Oh my God, what am I working on? I think that this is possibly the most, I say this every year, but this is most definitely the most fun time of my existence because I'm tying up some loose ends from my old life, which feels so good. So everything is going snip, 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 chip, 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 bye, 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 clear. And in it, I'm stepping into my World Live Tour, which begins in 2027. So I'm on Living Book Tour at the moment, published The Lost Art of Being Human, A Leader's Guide to End War at the end of 2024, and I went to print in January 2025. A few months later in May, I started Living Book Tour, living each chapter in different places around the world. And the book, when you receive it, if you don't have a copy, go to Amazon and get a copy immediately and have it next to your bedside because it's like a Bible for being human. And this is your entrance into the easy life. This, when you take it and you live it around the world and each country and each culture and each place, gives you what you need. The book brings you exactly what you need in each chapter. So I'm halfway through Living Book Tour. I'm just about to step into World Live Tour. And so when I do that, that is when I begin to once again gather all of the women in all of the rooms. So I'm working on, it's called Obsession Live Tour. And yeah, all of the seeds are starting to be planted. I'm building out the calendar for 2027 for how each month is going to look for each country that I'm going to be in. So it just feels like the highest level of play. And I'm stepping into my 8th year. I've just stepped into my 8th year of business. And what a better way to spend the 9th year of business. And then by the time I get to the 10th year of celebration, it's going to be the wildest, most beautiful, most extraordinary celebration that's probably going to go on for an entire year. So yes, this is what's going on right now.
That is extremely exciting for you. I am excited to watch this unfold and develop for you. So there you have it, guys. You heard from Leigh Jane Wingate. You've seen how she shines and how much energy she has and why she's putting health first. And if you want to connect with her, I'll have all the information. Obviously, she's all over social media, and I'll have all the links to everything she just shared in the comments shortly. And if you'd like to grab my new offer, 3 minutes and a 3-minute energy reset toolkit to stay sharp and energized all day, you can grab it. I'll also have that link below. It will help you stay energized, have more alertness throughout the day, and not have to worry about the 2 p.m. dip. Thank you, Leigh Jane, for being a guest today. It was a pleasure.